Most people are walking around with a mental operating system designed to fail, and they don't even know it. From the moment you were born, society has been programming you to accept mediocrity, fear change, and stay exactly where you are. Your parents meant well, but they taught you to play it safe. Your teachers meant well, but they taught you to follow rules instead of breaking barriers. Your friends mean well, but they keep you comfortable instead of challenging you to grow. The uncomfortable truth is that 95% of the population is mentally programmed for survival, not success. And if you want to join the 5% who actually achieve their dreams, you need to completely reprogram your mind. The question is not whether you have potential. The question is whether you have the courage to reject everything you've been taught about limitation and start thinking like someone who was born to win. There was a man who changed the course of history with one simple statement. Admiral Horatio Nelson stood on the deck of his ship, watching enemy vessels approach through the morning mist. His second-in-commander rushed to him with urgent news about the size of the opposing fleet. The admiral calmly raised his telescope to his right eye, the eye that had been blinded in a previous battle, and declared, "I see no ships." He ordered his fleet to attack, and that day they achieved one of the greatest naval victories in maritime history. What Nelson understood that most people never grasp is this fundamental truth. Your reality is not determined by what exists around you, but by what you choose to focus on within you. That telescope moment was not about denial or wishful thinking. It was about the supreme power of selective perception and the choice to see possibility where others see impossibility. Your mindset is not what happens to you. Your mindset is how you process what happens to you. This distinction will either make you or break you. Most people have it backwards. They think their circumstances create their mindset. But the truth is exactly the opposite. Your mindset creates your interpretation of your circumstances, and your interpretation becomes your reality. Think about this for a moment. Two people can face identical situations and have completely different outcomes. One sees opportunity, the other sees obstacle. One sees a stepping stone, the other sees a stumbling block. Same situation, different mindset, different result. The difference is not in what they face. The human mind is the most powerful computer ever created. But like any computer, it operates based on the programming it receives. Most people are running mental software that was installed by their parents, their teachers, their friends, their failures, and their fears. They are living their entire lives according to programs they never chose, running on mental operating systems that were designed by other people's limitations. But here is what most people never realize. You have the power to reprogram your mind. You are not stuck with the mental software you inherited. You can upgrade your thinking, install new beliefs, and delete the mental viruses that have been limiting your potential. The question is not whether you can change your mindset. The question is whether you will. I want to tell you about a young man named Akiro who lived in a small village in the mountains of Japan many centuries ago. Akiro dreamed of becoming a master swordsmith like his father and grandfather before him. But there was one problem that everyone in the village could see. His hands were unusually small and delicate. The master blacksmiths laughed at him. "Your hands are too weak," they said. "You will never have the strength to forge a blade worthy of a samurai." For months, Akiro tried to prove them wrong by working harder, trying to build more muscle, attempting to swing the hammer with greater force. But every sword he created was inferior, weak, and poorly balanced. The harder he tried to overcome his physical limitation, the worse his results became. He was about to give up when something shifted in his thinking. Instead of trying to be what he was not, Akiro decided to master what he was. Instead of using brute force, he began to study precision. Instead of heavy hammering, he developed a technique using light, rapid, perfectly placed strikes. While other smiths used strength, Akiro used strategy. While they used power, He used precision. The transformation was remarkable. His swords became known throughout the region, not for their size or weight, but for their perfect balance and razor sharpness. Samurai would travel for weeks just to commission a blade from the small-handed smith who had learned to turn his limitation into his greatest strength. What changed for Akira was not his circumstances. His hands remained the same size. What changed was his mindset about his circumstances. He stopped trying to overcome his limitation and started leveraging it as an advantage. He stopped fighting against who he was. This is the first foundation of an unshakable mindset, understanding that your limitations are not your prison, they are your training ground. Every champion who has ever lived had to develop the mental discipline to see their obstacles as opportunities for innovation and growth. Your mind is constantly having conversations with itself. All day long, there is internal dialogue happening in your head. You are either talking yourself into success or talking yourself out of it. You are either building yourself up or tearing yourself down. You are either programming yourself for victory or programming yourself for defeat. Most people are completely unaware of this internal conversation. They let their minds run wild with negative self-talk, limiting beliefs, and fearful projections about the future. They become victims of their own thinking. But people with unshakable mindsets have learned to take control of this internal dialogue. They have learned to become the director of their own mental movies instead of just a passive observer. This is not about positive thinking or pretending problems do not exist. This is about developing the mental discipline to focus your cognitive resources on solutions instead of problems, on possibilities instead of limitations, on what you can control instead of what you cannot control. When Admiral Nelson put that telescope to his blind eye, he was not denying reality, he was choosing which reality to focus on. The moment you understand that you have complete authority over your mental focus, everything changes. You realize that no external force can defeat you without your internal cooperation. You realize that your mindset is not just part of your success. Your mindset is the foundation upon which all success is built. Your circumstances are temporary. Your character is permanent. Your problems are seasonal. Your potential is eternal. But none of this matters until you develop the mental discipline to think like someone who cannot be defeated, regardless of what you face. Now that you understand your mind is programmable, you need to know how to install the right software. There are 3 mental pillars that separate those who get defeated by life from those who defeat everything life throws at them. These are not theories or concepts. These are battle-tested principles that have been proven in the furnace of real-world challenges. The first pillar is expectation management. And this is where most people destroy themselves before they even begin. They expect life to be easy. They expect success without struggle. They expect victory without battle. When difficulty comes, they are shocked, discouraged, and defeated because they were mentally unprepared for the very thing that was guaranteed to happen. Champions think differently. They expect challenges. They expect obstacles. They expect setbacks. But here's the crucial difference. They expect these things as part of their journey to victory, not as reasons to quit. When a boxer enters the ring, he expects to get hit. He does not get surprised when his opponent throws punches. He has trained for it, prepared for it, and developed strategies to handle it. Your life is no different. Every goal you set will attract opposition. Every dream you pursue will face resistance. Every level you try to reach will demand that you overcome something you have never overcome before. This is not bad news. This is the way success works. Difficulty is not the exception to achievement. When you expect challenges, you prepare for them mentally. When you prepare for them mentally, you respond to them strategically instead of emotionally. When you respond strategically, you turn your problems into your professors and your setbacks into your comebacks. The second pillar is identity reconstruction. Most people live their entire lives trapped in an identity that was created by other people's opinions. Past failures, or temporary circumstances. Someone told them they were not smart enough, not talented enough, not worthy enough, and they accepted that verdict as permanent truth. But your identity is not fixed. Your identity is fluid. You are not who you were yesterday. You are not even who you are today. You are who you are becoming. Every moment of every day, you have the power to reconstruct your identity based on the person you choose to become rather than the person you have been. This is not about lying to yourself or pretending to be something you are not. This is about understanding that your current limitations are not your permanent address. Your past does not determine your potential. Your history does not define your destiny. You are not the sum of your mistakes. You are the product of your decisions moving forward. There was a young man named Kenji who had a severe stutter from childhood. He was mocked by classmates, avoided speaking in public, and convinced himself that he would never be able to communicate effectively with others. His identity was built around his limitation. He saw himself as the guy who cannot speak properly. But at age 25, something happened that changed everything. Kenji attended a business seminar where the speaker challenged the audience to identify one fear they would overcome that year. Kenji shocked himself by writing down, "Become a public speaker." Not improve my speech or stutter less, but become a public speaker. That decision forced him to reconstruct his identity. Instead of seeing himself as someone who could not speak, he began to see himself as someone who was learning to speak powerfully. Instead of avoiding speaking opportunities, he began seeking them out. Instead of focusing on his stutter, he began focusing on his message. The transformation did not happen overnight. For months, Kenji practiced speaking to mirrors, recording himself, and gradually building confidence through small speaking opportunities. But something remarkable was happening in his mind during this process. He was no longer identifying himself by his limitation. He was identifying himself by his aspiration. Within 2 years, Kenji was speaking to audiences of thousands. His slight remaining stutter became part of his charm and authenticity, not his limitation. People connected with his message precisely because they could see he had overcome something difficult to be there. His identity reconstruction had become his greatest strength. The third pillar is mental rehearsal. Champions do not just prepare their bodies, they prepare their minds. They do not wait for success to happen to them. They create success scenarios in their mental laboratory first. Every great achievement happens twice. First in the mind, then in reality. Your brain cannot tell the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a real experience. When you mentally rehearse success scenarios over and over, you are literally training your nervous system to perform at that level. You are creating neural pathways that will activate when you face real-world challenges. Mental rehearsal is not daydreaming or wishful thinking. It is detailed, specific, sensory-rich practice sessions in your mind. You see yourself handling difficult situations with wisdom and strength. You feel yourself staying calm under pressure. You hear yourself speaking with confidence and authority. You experience yourself achieving your goals before you actually achieve them. This mental preparation creates what psychologists call success expectancy, a deep, unconscious confidence that you can handle whatever comes your way, because you have already handled it successfully in your mind hundreds of times. These three pillars, expectation management, identity reconstruction, and mental rehearsal, form the foundation of mental dominance. They prepare you not just to survive the battles of life, but to win them decisively. Building a strong mindset is like building physical strength. It requires deliberate training, consistent practice, and the willingness to push through discomfort. But unlike physical training, mental training happens in a battlefield that most people never recognize, the space between your ears, where thoughts become either weapons of victory or instruments of defeat. Your mind is under constant attack every day. Negative thoughts attempt to infiltrate your consciousness. Doubt tries to set up camp in your thinking. Fear attempts to hijack your decision-making process. Most people have no defense against these mental invaders. They allow every negative thought to take root, every criticism to wound them, every setback to shake their confidence. The champions have learned mental combat. They have developed the ability to recognize negative thoughts before they take hold and redirect their thinking before destructive patterns can establish themselves. This is not about pretending everything is perfect. This is about refusing to let temporary circumstances create permanent mental damage. The first technique is thought interruption and redirection. The moment you catch yourself thinking thoughts that weaken you, diminish you, or limit you, you must immediately interrupt that mental process and consciously redirect your thinking towards something that empowers you. This takes practice. But it becomes automatic once you develop the habit. When your mind says, I cannot do this, you interrupt and redirect, I am learning how to do this. When your mind says, this is too difficult, you redirect, this is developing my strength. When your mind says, I always fail, you redirect, I'm getting better every time I try. You are literally rewiring your brain through conscious thought control. The second strategy is building mental muscle through deliberate discomfort. Your comfort zone is not your friend, it is your prison. Every time you choose comfort over growth, easy over challenging, familiar over unknown, you are weakening your mental strength. Champions deliberately seek out situations that stretch them beyond their current capacity because they understand that growth only happens outside your comfort zone. This means saying yes to opportunities that scare you. This means taking on challenges that require you to become more than you currently are. This means choosing the difficult conversation, the uncomfortable task, the risky decision when you know it is the right path forward. Every time you do something that requires courage, you build courage. Every time you face fear and move forward anyway, you develop fearlessness. But here is where most people misunderstand mental strength. They think it means never feeling afraid, never experiencing doubt, never facing moments of uncertainty. That is not strength. That is numbness. True mental strength means feeling the fear and choosing courage anyway. It means acknowledging the doubt and deciding to trust yourself anyway. Resilience is not about avoiding the storm. It is about learning to dance in the rain. Every champion has developed what I call a bounce-back mechanism. When they get knocked down, they do not stay down. When they face failure, they do not accept defeat. When they encounter setbacks, they extract the lessons and use those lessons as stepping stones to their next level of success. There was a businessman named Hiroshi who understood this principle better than anyone I have ever known. By age 30, Hiroshi had built and lost 3 different businesses. Each failure was devastating. Each bankruptcy was humiliating. Each restart required him to rebuild from nothing. Most people would have given up after the first failure, instead of seeing failure as evidence that he was not meant to succeed. Hiroshi saw each failure as tuition payment in the University of Entrepreneurship. After his first business collapsed, he spent months analyzing what went wrong, what he could have done differently, and what lessons he needed to learn. After his second failure, he repeated the process with even greater intensity. After his third failure, he had accumulated more business wisdom than most successful entrepreneurs learn in a lifetime. When Hiroshi launched his 4th business, he was not the same person who had started the first one. He had been refined by failure, educated by setbacks, and strengthened by adversity. This time, he had the knowledge to avoid the mistakes that had destroyed his previous ventures. This time, he had the wisdom to make decisions that created sustainable success. Within 5 years, his 4th business had grown into a multi-million-dollar enterprise. But here is the most important part of Hiroshi's story. His success was not built despite his failures, but because of his failures. Each defeat had taught him something crucial that he could not have learned any other way. Each setback had forced him to develop capabilities he would not have needed if everything had been easy. His failures had not been obstacles to his success. They had been the foundation of his success. This is the mindset that can defeat anything. The understanding that every challenge is developing your character. Every obstacle is increasing your capacity. And every setback is setting you up for a comeback. When you truly embrace this perspective, you become unstoppable because you realize that nothing can defeat you without making you stronger in the process. The question is not whether you will face difficulties. The question is whether you will allow those difficulties to defeat you or develop you. Champions always choose development over defeat. Having the knowledge to develop an unshakable mindset is one thing. Actually living with that mindset every single day is something completely different. Champions understand that mindset is not something you develop once and then forget about. It is something you must maintain, protect, and strengthen continuously throughout your life. Think about your physical health for a moment. You do not eat one healthy meal and then consider yourself permanently fit. You do not exercise once and expect to stay strong forever. Physical fitness requires daily attention, consistent habits, and ongoing commitment. Your mental fitness works exactly the same way. The moment you stop actively maintaining your mindset, it begins to deteriorate. This is why champions have developed daily mental maintenance routines. Every morning, before they allow the world to dump its problems, pressures, and negativity into their minds, they take time to program their thinking for the day ahead. They do not leave their mental state to chance or allow external circumstances to determine their internal condition. Your morning mental routine might include reviewing your goals to keep them fresh in your consciousness, visualizing yourself succeeding in the day's key activities, or simply spending a few minutes in quiet reflection to center yourself before engaging with the world. The specific activities matter less than the consistent commitment to taking control of your mental state before your day takes control of you. But morning preparation is only the beginning. Throughout the day, you must remain vigilant about what you allow into your mental environment. Your mindset is constantly being influenced by the people you spend time with, the content you consume, the conversations you engage in, and the thoughts you entertain. Champions have learned to be selective about these influences because they understand that garbage in equals garbage out. This does not mean you should avoid all negative people or pretend problems do not exist. It means you should limit your exposure to toxic thinking and maximize your exposure to empowering influences. You should spend more time with people who challenge you to grow and less time with people who encourage you to settle. You should consume more content that expands your possibilities and less content that reinforces your limitation. Your evening routine is equally important because it allows you to process the day's experiences and extract valuable lessons before they get buried under tomorrow's activities. Champions review their day not to judge themselves harshly, but to identify what worked, what did not work, and how they can improve tomorrow. They celebrate their victories, learn from their mistakes, and mentally prepare for the next day's opportunities. But here is something most people never consider. Your mindset does not just affect you. Your mindset affects everyone around you. The way you think influences the way you speak. The way you speak influences the way others feel. The way others feel influences the way they perform. Your mental strength can literally elevate the people in your environment, while mental weakness can drag everyone down. This is why developing an unshakable mindset is not just a personal responsibility. It is a leadership responsibility, whether you realize it or not. People are watching how you handle pressure, how you respond to setbacks, how you treat challenges, and how you maintain your confidence in difficult situations. Your example is either teaching them that obstacles are insurmountable or that obstacles are opportunities in disguise. When you walk into a room with unshakable confidence, other people feel it. When you handle crisis situations with calm wisdom, other people learn from it. When you maintain optimism in the face of adversity, other people are inspired by it. Your mindset becomes contagious. spreading strength to everyone in your sphere of influence, but this influence extends far beyond your immediate circle. Every person you impact with your mental strength goes out and impacts other people with that same strength. The confidence you demonstrate to your children shapes how they approach challenges for the rest of their lives. The resilience you model for your team members influences how they handle pressure in their careers. The optimism you maintain in difficult seasons gives other people hope in their own difficult seasons. This is the compound effect of mental discipline. Small daily choices in how you manage your thinking create massive long-term impact, not just in your own life, but in the lives of everyone connected to you. When you make the decision to develop an unshakable mindset, you are not just changing your own trajectory, you are potentially changing the trajectory of generations. Consider how this works mathematically. If you impact 10 people with your mental strength, and each of them impacts 10 more people, and each of those people impacts 10 more, you have potentially influenced 1,000 people through your commitment to mental excellence. But the real impact goes even deeper than numbers can measure, because you are not just changing what people do, you are changing how people think, and how people think determines everything they become. This is why champions never see mindset development as selfish or self-focused. They understand that developing mental strength is one of the greatest gifts they can give to the world, because strong minds create strong families create strong communities create strong societies, and strong societies create a strong world. But none of this happens automatically. The compound effect only works when you consistently apply the principles day after day, year after year, regardless of how you feel or what circumstances you face. Consistency is the mother of mastery, and mastery is what separates those who talk about having a strong mindset. Think about water cutting through rock. One drop of water cannot make a dent in solid stone, but millions of drops of water, applied consistently over time, can carve through the hardest granite. Your daily mental disciplines work the same way. One day of positive thinking will not transform your life, but years of consistently choosing empowering thoughts over limiting thoughts will completely reshape your reality. The beautiful thing about this process is that it gets easier as you get stronger. In the beginning, choosing positive thoughts over negative thoughts requires conscious effort. Interrupting destructive thinking patterns takes deliberate attention. Maintaining confidence in difficult situations demands intentional focus. But the more you practice these mental disciplines, the more automatic they become. Eventually, optimism becomes your default setting. Eventually, resilience becomes your natural response to setbacks. Eventually, confidence becomes your permanent posture, regardless of external circumstances. What once required tremendous effort now happens effortlessly, because you have literally rewired your brain through consistent practice. This is what it means to live with an unstoppable mindset. Not that you never face challenges, but that challenges never define you. Not that you never experience failure, but that failure never defeats you. Not that you never feel fear, but that fear never controls you. You have trained your mind to find solutions instead of excuses, possibilities instead of limitations, opportunities instead of obstacles. When you reach this level of mental mastery, something profound happens. You stop needing external validation to maintain your confidence. You stop depending on perfect circumstances to feel optimistic. You stop requiring other people's approval to pursue your dreams. Your mindset becomes self-sustaining because it is built on internal strength rather than external support.